She says she trusts me, she's so scared, but I've never done it before, so I can't really guarantee that this is going to be a seamless experience. I really try when I go to school. Like, I always try to put in effort, and I never, not put in effort. So it's Monday, week 5. I just got home from the gym and got dressed. I have a lecture at 9:30, so in about 10 minutes, which I'm going to watch from home. And then immediately after that, I'm going to head into the hospital because I have a booking with the phlebotomist. And the phlebotomist is the person at the hospital who draws blood, because I'm going to be drawing blood today for the first time. The first thought I had when I booked in with the phlebotomist last week was, oh, it's okay. If I feel really scared, I could just pull out and not do it, which is a pretty bad attitude to have, but that was my first thought because I'm going by myself and I'm not going with anyone that I know. So that's also making me feel a bit uncomfortable, but I'm sure it will be fine. I have a day plan in the library where I'm just going to sit in a chair and nut out as many lectures as I can. It's been weird because it gets to the weekend and I'm like, wait, why aren't I getting any work done? And I realized that because I always study at the library, but COVID made that impossible, it's been hard for me to get back into the rhythm of going to the library on the weekend to complete work. It was a good weekend. It was fun and relaxing, but I've got a lot of lectures that I need to catch up on. We're moving on from the surgery mini rotation now, and we're moving into general medicine, which I'm not quite sure what general medicine is, but we will find out. So we're meeting a whole different team this week, and thankfully the ward rounds aren't going to be at 6:30 anymore, so I am excited for that change. It's fine. I feel super calm. I'm talking in a calm voice. This is so fine. There's nothing to worry about. It's going to be fine. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. This is so fine. What a lovely day to do my first venipuncture. Veins, no problem. I'm so fine with veins. I love veins. They help me breathe. They bring deoxygenated blood back to my heart where I need it. Love veins. Not creepy. Very cool. Great vessel. I'm calling today a long and successful day because I got a lot of stuff done and I'm feeling really good now and I feel satisfied with my efforts today. I completed my venipuncture and it honestly wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. On my way to the venipuncture place, I ran into some of my classmates in the lift and I was feeling pretty nervous at the time. And they were like, don't worry, we've already done it. It's so fine, no stress. So that made me feel a lot better. I went down to the pathology area. So that's where everyone is drawing blood. And then I attached myself to one of the people there to watch first before I started doing them myself. I think most normal people or most other people from my year level were there for half an hour. Personally, I was there for 3 hours because I spent a long time at the start watching other people do it. And then I was mustering up the courage to do it myself. And then I wanted to make sure I got a patient who was really happy for me to do the procedure. I was very picky about who I did the venipuncture on because I know I was nervous. And even though I was trying to calm myself, I knew that my mannerisms were of someone who was nervous. It's very hard to hide nerves when you feel like that. For example, a patient I knocked back was this lovely patient who came in and I was like, hi, I'm Ashima, I'm a second year medical student. I was wondering if it's okay with you if I do the venipuncture on you today, or we can get the phlebotomist, the experienced qualified person, to do it instead if you like. This patient then started crying, but then she was like, oh no, it's okay, you can do it, I trust you. And at that point I'm like, oh my god, she trusts me. She says she trusts me, she's so scared, but I've never done it before, so I can't really guarantee that this is going to be a seamless experience. Even though that patient agreed for me to do it, I passed that patient along to the phlebotomist because I just didn't feel comfortable doing it in that scenario. So the people I ended up doing the venipuncture on were 3 really confident people who were like, whatever, you can take my blood, I don't care, I'm here all the time. I was extremely awkward doing it because there's just so much you have to think about while it's happening. Number one, you have to make sure everything is hygienic all the time. You have to make sure that your hands are clean when you touch the patient, then you have to clean your hands again, making sure that you're hygienic every step of the way. It takes a little bit of thinking. The next thing you obviously have to think about is finding the vein. So how you do it is you have to feel around and touch it and see where the strongest vein is that is bouncy, so it bounces back. And if it's harder than, I don't know, if it's harder than the vein feeling, you have a vein, you can touch your own vein. If it's harder than that, then it's a tendon. So looking for the vein with your hands, feeling for it. Even using the tourniquet to tie around the person's arm to find the vein better, I found it quite challenging to do smoothly. Then there's one more thing you have to think about, which is the order of draw. So most people who come into pathology, you take numerous tubes of blood from them for various tests. And there's an order that you have to do them in because some of the tubes contain some stuff that will contaminate the other tubes. So you have to just make sure sure you're doing it in the right order. There were just so many things to think about, and I was just like clunking around the room so badly. I kept like, you know when you're nervous and you keep walking into things? I kept walking into things, walked into the bin, walked into the stool, washed my hands about 10 times because I was just so unsure that I'd washed them the correct amount of times. The phlebotomist who was supervising me was lovely. She was so helpful and she was just such a good teacher, and I really appreciate her efforts. She made me feel so comfortable, and she was really helpful with her directions as well, like helping me find the right veins. She was just a legend. I can honestly say that I did not feel squeamish at all. There was just no time for me to even feel squeamish, and I think it's just because there was just so much other stuff to think about. There was just like 10 things I was needing to think about at the same time, so being squeamish wasn't even like on the radar. Inserting the needle into the skin was so fine. It didn't really feel like anything. The part that I found quite tricky though was keeping the needle steady in the hole while I changed the vials over for the blood, because I know that when I get blood taken it hurts if they jiggle it around your arm. So I was trying to be careful of that, but I was just a bit clunky and I couldn't really get it right. I did 3 vena punctures today because that's how many we needed to get signed off for the year. So now I don't have to worry about the paperwork, and I can just continue to practice them when I'm like in ED and whenever the opportunity presents itself. The last lovely patient that I was doing the vena puncture on was like coaching me through it. They were like, you look really nervous, just relax, it's fine, there's nothing to stress about, push the vial in now. And they were like coaching me through the whole thing. It was pretty funny. I definitely want to work on not transmitting my nervous energy to the patient because nerves are so contagious. So I just need to keep practicing them, and I'm glad that my first one's over because the rest of them will be easy from here. I had a really good library sesh today after that. I find that I'm really soothed after I spend a few hours at the library because it gives me time to sit down with my planner, look through my assessments, look through the content and see if I'm missing anything, and that really calms me down. I just listened to a lecture that was about how to learn in a surgical team, and it came a bit late for me because we already finished our surge rotation by the time I listened to it, but I realized that I've been a bit of a fucking awkward cunt. Some things that I need to do differently in my gen med rotation, so now versus what I did with my surge rotation at the start of the year, was that I didn't introduce myself to the right people at the start. I introduced myself to a few people, mostly the MD4s and the interns because that's who I felt the most comfortable around, but I really should have introduced myself to the higher up staff as well. I didn't really understand how the teams worked, and I felt like I was inconveniencing them by introducing myself and giving them my name because I just thought like, whatever, they're not going to remember my name anyway. Like, why would they remember my name? I'm just some MD2 student. But I realized that's the wrong attitude, and I definitely should make a point of introducing myself to everyone who's around. I think it was just a little bit awkward towards the end of our little mini rotation because I was like, fuck, I haven't introduced myself to these people. I have to give myself grace. This is foundation term. This is just about getting used to the hospital and how it works. I finally finished A Promised Land yesterday. I've been reading that book literally since Jan 1, so 2 full months. It was a long book, not 2 months long, but it was long and quite detailed in the politics, so it was hard for me to stay engaged the whole way through. I would drop off and then come back into it. It's definitely worth reading. I'm really glad I read it, and I did enjoy it as well. I have wondered before what it's like to be president, so it does give you a really clear picture of what that's like being the president day in and day out. It's a bit dry. Lots of dinners with important people, lots of small talk, lots of photo ops. Pretty amazing to think that's how global policy gets decided. One guy has dinner with another guy and they chat about the fate of their entire country. Pretty high stakes conversations. My goal for this year is 15 books in the year, so I've only read 1 so far. I've got 14 more to go. 15 is a good number for me because it gives me space to pick up a longer book. Say, for example, if I had a goal that was longer, like 30 or 52 or whatever some people do, then I just wouldn't make time to read longer books. I would only select shorter books. But 15 is good because now, like, I've read 1 over 2 months, which is a longer book, but I can make up for that time by reading a few shorter books, and then if I have space, I can pick up a longer one, and so forth. I'm excited to see this different area of the hospital and see what kind of patients there are there. I had a good productive morning. I went to the gym, but I've realized that I'm not doing enough cardio at the moment because I start off with weights thinking I'll get to cardio later, but then by the time it's later, I'm like about to run late to come to school. So I need to start putting cardio back at the start because that is so much more important to me than doing weights, especially now because I know that I have a family history of cardiovascular issues. Busy day today. We've got a few shoots on, and I was talking to Kit yesterday, who we're going to be partnered up with today, and we both have to present a long case on Thursday. And even though I've been saying every day that I'm going to do a long case, I still haven't done one because I've been kind of avoiding it. So we're just going to try to get them done today. Actually, in the wise words of Yoda, there is no try. It's either do or do not. okay, this long ass day is finally over. I think it was actually a pretty good day. I got quite a lot done. In our PP shoot today, we were talking about boundaries between us and patients, between us and social media, and just what constitutes crossing a boundary. Just finished an awesome workout. That was probably like the best one I've had in a few weeks. I'm feeling really good about that. I wasn't going to go today, but then I woke up and I realized I forgot to wash my hair last night when I had a shower. And it was too filthy to go to the hospital in. So I was like, I may as well go to the gym so that I can wash my hair. It's going to be fresh for longer. I think that's the hardest part about being regular at the gym is figuring out when to wash your hair. It's such a struggle. Heading to the hospital now to do my lab on IV cannulation. I thought I was in the clear after doing venipuncture, but then everyone yesterday was talking about how hard IV cannulation is, and even our tutor was talking about how fucked up it was when she was doing it and how it took her so many tries to get it right. When you do venipuncture, you have to hold down the vein with one of your hands while you're inserting the needle, and I think from what I understand in IV cannulation that step's a lot harder. The vessel is more likely to roll or something like that, so it sounds a bit fiddly and tricky. After my lab today, I'm just going to hold myself in the library and get through my coursework and write up my long case that I have to present to the class tomorrow. I'm excited to spend the day in the library. Still feeling good, still not feeling too stressed yet. In a few weeks, I have my first test for the year, which is called CAT 5. That stands for Cumulative Assessment Task 5. So at the start of last year, we had CAT 1, and then CAT 4 was the last assessment of last year. So CAT 5 in a few weeks is going to be on some stuff from last year, and then most of the stuff is going to be from this year, the first 8 weeks. So how I'm trying to revise is I'm just doing about 20 questions from past medicine every day. I like doing practice questions a lot more than flashcards because I feel like they involve a lot more thought, because the questions are a little bit more layered than a flashcard question. Yeah, I had a break last week, so I'm feeling like rejuvenated.
Yeah, because of the lockdown and everything. Can't do much anyway.
Just really... We're looking for a vein that can fit this whole length of the cannula in one straight line. Any veins that are curvy wouldn't be good for this. We're looking for one with a straight segment. Part of the preparation for the IV cannulation is to draw a syringe full of saline, and you use this to flush out the cannula after you've inserted it because you don't want any blood clotting up the tube and blocking it. The plastic end that I'm applying to the syringe is called a bung, and I believe it works as a valve. And then I'm just applying the tourniquet and then cleaning the skin. Here I am donning my sterile gloves. There's a special method that you have to use to put on sterile gloves, which involves you only touching the inside of the glove and using that to pull it through. And at the end of applying the glove, you can roll down the cuff, and so everything that you've touched is now covered by the sterile material. If you've ever done the pants stance, this is like the pants stance on crack. It takes me at least 5 minutes to put them on. Here I am inserting the cannula and the needle. So the cannula comes with a needle in the middle of it, and then you have to slide the cannula off so that only the plastic tube bit remains in the person's vessel. Cannulation this morning was really challenging. There were so many steps to it, making sure everything's sterile, and it was just a lot more complicated than venipuncture. So that's just gonna be great, isn't it? Even just doing the IV cannulation on the fake hands. I kept calling it a catheter too, which is definitely not a catheter. It was just like so many steps that I could feel myself getting like 1% anxious. And then I was just thinking about how nervous I was the other day when I was doing the venipuncture, and then trying to remember like 10 million steps. Oh my God, I'm just going to be a bit of a wreck doing that. And then my mannequin started to bleed out. I think there was something wrong with the mannequin, but just the fact that that can happen with the real patient is just... So today is a day that I'm feeling pretty ambivalent about. I spent the last 5 hours working on my long case finally. So I interviewed my patient yesterday and I was writing it up today. And man, I see why they call it a long case, because it just fucking went on forever. And I didn't even do it right in that 5 hours. I didn't even complete it. I was writing it up with the slideshow about the long case next to me. So I was just flicking through the slides and filling out all the information as I went. And I was like, surely this is the last slide now. Like, surely there's not more to this fucking long case. And there was just so much more to the long case. In the end, I just couldn't be bothered doing the end of it. I just kind of wrapped it up the best I knew how, because I was like, man, by the time I learn how to do this, it's gonna be like 10 p.m. and I just don't have time right now. So I'm just gonna like flunk it in class basically. basically get that sweet public humiliation and then work from there. I'm feeling a bit defeated right now because I just feel like I have such a long way to go and this is just not a good start. I didn't even touch my lectures today at all, so they're piling up. So tomorrow I'm going on a ward round in the morning with my new team, and then in the afternoon at 3 we have my long case shoot. I'm going to go through my lectures, I guess tomorrow night is the only time I have time, and then on Friday I think I'll minimally spend time on the wards because I really need to catch up on my content. Also, in the end of your assessment you have half an hour to interview the patient and do the exams, and then you have 12 minutes to present your findings, and that just seems like a really impossible timeline. Like, that just took me 5 hours to do the write-up, and it took me an hour and a half, if not 2 hours, to do all of the history and exam, and then I'm supposed to condense that down into half an hour / 12 minutes of presentation. I've been trialing a new method of learning all the drug names this week, which I'm pretty happy with. I don't like Anki. I'm going to make a whole video about why I don't like it, but spoiler alert, I just don't like it. So I've been thinking about how to learn all the pharmacological drug names because they're really hard to get through, and it's not something really you can cram at all, nor do I want to cram because I want to know what the drugs are when I'm prescribing them. So what I've started to do is make a physical flashcard for every drug. We have like a list of like 200-ish drug names that we need to know and need to know the mechanisms of before we finish 4th year. So I'm making one flashcard for every drug with some information on the back, and I'm just carrying one card with me every day, because if I'm walking around with one card, and I've read this about 5 times today, hopefully that will cement it in my memory a little bit better. So for example, today my card is rivaroxaban, and rivaroxaban is a direct oral anticoagulant, a DOAC, and apixaban is another DOAC, and it is used to inhibit factor 10A in the coagulation cascade. I've done one of these cards every day this week, and I feel like I've really liked slipping these into my lifestyle. This system is obviously only as good as my discipline, so it'll all come down to whether or not I can keep this up every day. It hasn't been too difficult so far, and I've enjoyed doing it, so I'm going to do my best to keep it up. I'm pretty tired. I'm looking forward to going home and just reading my book, which this book I picked up is like the equivalent of reality TV for your book. It's just some like light and cheesy romance novel. It's a bit alarming to think about the fact that I haven't even had any assessments yet, and there's about 1 million assessments this year and I haven't had any of them. So once they start rolling in, that's going to be a good time, isn't it? Oh my god, check out this giant plant that James has bought today. I am obsessed. I've never seen a cooler plant. What the heck? It's like half a forest, honestly. Oh my god. It's like comically large. The drug of the day is enoxaparin, which is another anticoagulant, and it's a low molecular weight heparin. I had a pretty roller coaster of a day today, I think. It started off good. We went on the ward round with the new team that we're on, which is general medicine, and the ward round was quite different to the surge ones that we've been on. So this one is a lot longer. You spend a lot longer with each patient, and each patient is generally more complicated, so they have a few things going on with them. And then I think general medicine coordinates between all the different specialties in the hospital, something like that. And it was interesting, and I was very in awe of the skill and finesse of the registrar that we were with. She was just amazing to watch because she was just so calm and poised and just knew so much. But at the same time, it was like so far beyond me what she was talking about that I feel like I don't know what I learned. I answered a question which made me feel really good. Honestly, the high of answering one question from someone who's someone makes me feel so good and accomplished. It like carries me through the whole day / week because it's so rare. It's not happening to me that often. Someone had a unilateral joint pain, so joint pain in one side of their body, and she asked us what we thought it was, and my friend Kit gave an amazing differential diagnosis list, and then I was like, oh, gout, and that happened to be the right answer, so got lucky again. So that made me feel good and made me feel like I actually learned something last year in Zoom University. Although after that, for the rest of the afternoon, I actually felt really really stupid and really inadequate for a few hours, because yesterday I'd been working on my long case and I didn't think that was going really good. And when I saw the registrars today speaking about different patients on the ward and I couldn't understand anything, I was overhearing about 3 hours of conversation, and I honestly don't think I would understand 10% of what they were saying. So after that, I just felt kind of demoralized and felt like I was just never going to get there, and started catastrophizing a little bit. But then I ended up working on my long case a little bit more, and then I presented my long case in class to my tutor and my classmates, and it was actually fine. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. In fact, it was mediocre, which is like more than I was expecting. I got some really good constructive feedback from everyone. It's making me feel a lot better, because it's like, okay, it's week 5 now, and if my first long case is mediocre, then I've got a long time to improve it, and by the end of the year it should be pretty good, hopefully. I forgot to even think about this part yet, but I'm doing a breast exam tutorial tomorrow. I'm kind of nervous now that I think about it, because I feel like it'll be really hard not to smile or laugh because of the awkwardness. I'm struggling because I feel like I've been putting in massive days. Like, I don't see where I've been slacking off, and yet I'm still behind. So in the words of Miss Clavel, something is not right, something is quite wrong. But I don't know what it is. I think I might be spending too much time on the wards, so I don't know what the fuck is going on. I had such a relaxing morning this morning. I had a bath and I read my book and I had a coffee. I need to do that more often because I feel fantastic. I finished reading a book called It Ends With Us, or This Ends With Us. And I don't feel like my life is at all enriched after reading that book. It was extremely cheesy, but it was extremely easy to get through. It was a very quick read. It only took me like a few days to finish it. But now I've read 2 of my 15 books of the year, so I'm happy about that. I'm just heading to the library now because we have a live lecture, but over Zoom, that I want to watch from the library. Later in the afternoon, I have my breast exam tute. So then there's some pre-work I need to do for that. So I'm going to watch this lecture, do the pre-work, and then go to the breast exam tute. Now that I've had time to digest that whole long case experience and reflect on it, I'm really happy with this assessment, because I learnt a lot writing up the long case, and I feel like I'm going to learn so much from it for the whole year. To tell you a bit about my case, I was doing it on someone who came into the hospital with right lower quadrant pain, so pain here. Even though this person was an inpatient, so we already knew what was wrong with him, the way you write it up is like pretending like you don't know what it is, and pretending like you're the person who's working through how to diagnose this person's pain. So while I was interviewing the patient and then writing it up after, so that whole experience took about, 6 hours, I was almost exclusively thinking about right lower quadrant pain, what can cause right lower quadrant pain, and how I'd rule in and out different conditions. It was a really good amount of pressure for me to revise some things that I haven't looked at in a while. For example, the patient's diagnosis in the end was something called diverticulitis, but then it could have also been kidney, because your kidney also lives in that area. So he could have had kidney stones or something like that. So while I was writing it up, I had to think about, okay, well, what kind of symptoms would someone with kidney stones have, and what kind of questions can I ask him to make sure it's not kidney stones, even though I already know what the diagnosis is going to be. Some questions to ask to rule out kidney stones. How's your urination? Is there any blood in your urination? So yeah, I feel like I learnt a lot. I'm very happy to do work and assignments when I can see how enriching it is to my education. I'm actually just so shocked at the teaching experience that I just had. This teaching experience wasn't delivered to us by the hospital that I'm at or the university I'm at. None of their teachers have ever been less than amazing to me. I feel a bit stupid for being upset, but like, I really try when I go to school. Like, I always try to put in effort, and I never not put in effort. So I think it's just a bit harsh to get berated for not knowing what to do when I've tried my best. I actually love receiving feedback because it helps me be better, and I never mind getting it. But Jesus Christ, I have never been delivered feedback so aggressively. I think I'm feeling a bit hard done by, and sorry for myself as well, because last year most of our teaching was online, so the opportunities to get feedback about our technique was so limited. We really didn't have much opportunity to get feedback. So I've never received feedback about this before. I'll explain a bit about the class we just had. So the class was that we had a shoot beforehand, and then we went through the breast exam technique we did it on our arms and on a demonstrator's arms, and also on it was like a silicone mold of a breast. So we practiced our technique on that. And then we had to go upstairs to a room where there was other staff. First, there was a demonstration of the breast exam on a real person, and then my group split off into another shoot room with a sexual health physician, and we were learning about how to ask a sexual history, and we were just going over questions you ask in their sexual history and how to ask them better or less awkwardly, and just going through like what questions are important to ask. And then we had to go back into the room an hour later to do the exam on a person who is an employee of the school. And then we just practiced the exam on that, and then they gave us feedback there. So that was the structure of what we were doing without getting into it too much. In the class, while this was happening, I was completely fine and completely collected, and I didn't feel this intense emotion, but I was just talking to my boyfriend on the phone about it to debrief about what just had happened. And that's when I started to feel upset. You know, when you're like having an off day and then you're fine, but then at the end of the day, someone asks you if you're okay, and that's when you feel upset. It's kind of like what just happened now. So I'm fine. I think I just needed to let out those pent-up emotions that I had about that class, and I'm just going to move on with my life now. I actually have a really fun evening plan, which I'm really excited about. My sister's name is Krishma, my name's Ashima, and we have two really good family friends named Tina and Surbi, and have a brother named Arjun. And together we make the Cats, which is the bomb club that we formed when we were like 10, because it's an acronym of all of our names. It's honestly the most exclusive club in Melbourne. And I'm so excited to see the Cats because that's always such a good time. We all have such different interests. My friend Tina actually has a YouTube channel that she started the same time as I did, called SUGI'S World. It's awesome. She's doing such a good job at it. She does film reviews, she does analysis videos and trailer reactions, and I'm just really, really proud of her. Her channel is awesome. So check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. It wouldn't be a cat's night without a copious amount of food. Yeah! Surbi, how often did you used to watch this video?
Every day after school for a year. I used to sing along to it as well, and I thought if I'd sing, I'd be as good as him.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe, as it really helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you next week.